I'm Teresa Cavina, and I'm the artistic director of the Mediterranean Film Festival. And today I'm incredibly honored to have with me Yorgos Mavropsaridis, which is one of the best living editors ever. No? Yes. He has got 14 award, 53 nominations and counting, and two of them were Academy Award nomination for The Favorite and Poor Things, if I'm not wrong. And we are going to have a chat with him, and I feel extremely honored for that. Thank you so much, Yorgos, for being with us.
Thank you for calling me, and thank you for your attendance. And,
so now I'm the other hat. We can sit down because I'm also the moderator of the of this wonderful moment of exchange. And instead of starting from the beginning, that I will do in a moment, I want to start from the present, because everybody knows that you are the editor of Yorgos Lanthimos, to the point that they talk about the two Yorgos. So there is no difference. The family name is forgotten when when in an article you read the two Yorgos, is Mavropsaridis and Lanthimos. But you had a life before, and you try to have a life even between Yorgos, the other one, films. And I was checking, and of course you are already entangled in the film that has been announced in Cannes, Bugonia, which is from a very funny Zhang Yuan film, Save the Green Planet. But also, I found out that actually you have a liking for the Eastern Europe, because you are producing three young directors. You are producing Triumph by Kristina Grojeva, The Exalted by Yuri Kursietis. I need your help, and then you have Ultra Pure.
Ultra Pure has been announced to be shot, but I don't know anything about it.
Okay.
The Last Sun, I did The Last Sun from Slovenia. That was the last
My question is, do you think that the talent in this moment, the fresh talent, the same eye you had to detect a fresh talent more than 25 years ago with Lanthimos, is pushing you toward East Europe?
Well, I wouldn't say that. It's just that there are a lot of co-productions in Greece with Eastern European countries like Bulgaria or Slovenia, so that's how I get involved. But I believe the talent is all over the world. You know, life renews itself, so there is talent all the time.
Now we go back to the chronological order. Sure. So the usual question that everybody wants to know when somebody is really a genius in his profession. Did it happen for passion? You started to work in cinema, or by accident? Sometimes it happened. Can you tell us a little bit about your beginnings?
Well, as a matter of fact, when I finished my education in Greece, I decided first to become an actor. So I went to a drama school for 3 years. Already from the first year of my study, I knew that I wasn't going to follow that profession because of external reasons, but the education was great, and I wanted to finish, and finished it. Yes, that was my basic education. And then, of course, I had to think of my future in more practical ways, how to bring food to my table and everything. So I left Greece when I was 21, mainly to avoid the army, which later I came back to do it many years later. And I went to London, and you know, I happened to be to visit the London International Film School. John Fletcher was the director at the time.
One,
yes,
yeah.
And at the time, John Fletcher was he was a sound guy from the free cinema movement, so he was more open-minded. I didn't qualify exactly. I couldn't. I hadn't made a film. I didn't write a script or anything. But after a discussion with him, while I was working in the drama, I was studying the drama school. I was doing some work on on some dubbing post-production house, so I knew how to use the moviola, the flatbed we used for the editing.
Because you are of the generation that still went into the cutting room, and it was really cutting room. The moviola, you had the film going through it, and then you had to cut, and then you have this film cut put together.
So he was kind enough to accept me on the basis of my knowledge of some things of the editing. And really from the beginning, because the system in the International Film School already, or maybe it still is, they separated you in groups, and you had to find your own role in a group. So my role from the beginning was that of an editor. I was very introverted person. I couldn't communicate a lot with people, so that was natural for me to go there. I had some talent, everybody said, so I'm an editor from my study years, and remained one, yes.
And then, how did you meet Yorgos Lanthimos?
Well, yes, when I went back to Greece to start working.
Because you are more or less 110, only
no,
10 years
20,
older.
No, 20 years older than Yorgos. Already I was quite successful editor in Greece.
So you had already established career as a film editor
somehow,
with the best
yes, I
Greek,
had done my first film, my first feature film in 1984, won the Editor Award, and I was very successful in commercials. This was our basic means of, doing our job, and I met Yorgos as also other young directors. I did their first commercial, so that was the way to meet and collaborate and discuss about films, basically, because our main aim was to make films. Of course, the budgets were all the time not enough, but the commercial industry helped us survive, and we helped each other making films for free. Like, for example, the first film I did with Lanthimos was Kineta. The budget was 20,000 euros. And we could do it because we could, work together on the commercials, and that was the main reason. Yeah. And of course, that was, he impressed me from the beginning, because even the commercials, he was trying to find his own means of expression, the particular one that we see now.
Yeah,
it's
because Yorgos brought us a little surprise. Instead of starting with Doctus, we start with one of the commercials that they did together at the beginning of their friendship.
Yes, of course, I can show you one, just for fun, one commercial to
because
see.
Because everyone saw the last one you made for Gucci, which was a fantastic,
yes.
The horse. Do you remember the one with the horse?
No, that's not the one. Let's go to this one.
Yeah, because as you probably know, Lanthimos keeps doing, is restless and keeps doing Gucci commercials, and then afterwards, in a moment, we will talk about how Lanthimos leaves you alone in the editing room, because he's already busy to start with the next film.
So this is one of the old commercials I did with Yorgos.
Αν τα αγγίξεις, δεν τα αφήνεις, για όμορφα γερά μαλλιά, χωρίς πιτηρίδα, ούλτρεξ.
It was a bit out of sync, but anyway, he had that strange sense of humor, and also he already from the commercials, he wanted to be in control of the final product, in the sense that even his comedies were a bit different, Mostly he was looking for long shots, not many cuts. This, of course, that's not a great example, but I couldn't find anything else. And what impressed me was that he was using commercials in a sense to build his own language, his own speech, how he would narrate his commercials. And when we finished Kineta, which was very different than the others, the biggest break came with the doctors, as a matter of fact, because, you know, I'm usually working in parallel. When he starts shooting, I'm working on from the first day, and one day before he starts shooting, he sends me the script, and the script was, you know, he has changed all the scenes order, not to indicate that this is going to be a new order, no, but to indicate that we will find the narration during the edit, because I've noticed also that he had shot 2 or 3 scenes sometimes saying the same thing. So it could be either one or the other.
Depending on the balance
Depending
of the
on the
old
balance
narrative,
and the combination of the scene. And also his only instruction when we did, because we had worked a lot in the commercials and in Kineta as well, his instruction was that now we have to find a different way of editing. Nobody knew what that would be, but already the shots, you know, the tilted or, you know, the strange, you know, how it was composed indicated the difference. So we did find it during the edit, this procedure, and it's a method that we keep following from then. So whenever you want me, we can talk about this method and how we follow it and how it proceeds. But
I mean, you know that you are free. We can go either film by film, or if you feel like talking about one method, is also interesting to see how it evolves, because also if I think to Dog Tooth or Lobster and 2 kinds of kindnesses, the editing is completely different. They look slow in relation to the 20 cuts per minute that you do in the last Lanthimos. So if you want to go, for me it's the same. You can go film by film, but it's interesting to see also how to.
well, what I understood from the beginning was that he didn't like, for example, when he doesn't like a scene the way I've edited it, he says this is very descriptive. This is like a representation of something. So it doesn't have to be a representation that people see on the screen. It has to be an experience, and we have to create this experience by means of non-edit or edit or very subtle edit. We don't want the edit to, you know, influence or almost to be invisible, like we know from the Hollywood, but not in the continuity style of editing, invisible, in the sense that if you immerse your audience or your viewer in a situation, he forgets that there is an out there. So the film must be presented in his brain somehow. And also, you must have noticed that not everything is explicitly said. There's a lot of holes in the narration. There's a lot of indications. That means that the viewer has to put his own thoughts, feelings, personality to the explaining of the film.
But this makes incredible the work the 2 of you do, because where there are maybe I wouldn't call them, I will call them holes for lack of better words, but then there is your editing that comes in, and the meaning that is not present in the words is not. Your editing add it, and you arrive at the end of the sequence, and you know exactly what has been told, partly through the way you. But let's do it. If you can go to the beginning of the favorite to show the way you present the 3 ladies.
The favorite?
Yeah.
Of course.
No?
If you allow me, because I want to connect the method with our earlier films. For example, Dogtooth is a very, like 200,000 euro was the budget. The favorite, of course, was 17, but the differences in the edit, they don't exist. I mean, we have the same method. So Doctor would be an easier example, and then I'll
Okay, no,
present
but
it.
we have time,
So
and we are all super curious. So,
So the original edit, the original start for Dogtooth.
and you have two.
Yes, this was the original start.
Yeah. And this just is changing. You can see from there what is going on.
I can't
At
see.
the moment, nothing.
Can we see?
No. There is no connection. Help.
We lost connection. Oh yeah, there it is. So the beginning was, a very interesting beginning, of course. Ephemis likes to also the screenwriter likes to keep them very strange. So the beginning would be a girl, somebody picks her up, brings her to the house, where she makes love with the boy of the situation, which is a very interesting narration, but very script-wise or plot-driven. We changed this because we wanted to make, Yorgos wanted to make this more of an essay. What is this film about? This is not about the girl being in the house, and so how can we connect this with the viewer? And he had this idea to start with a lesson. We had these scenes where the mother gave lessons to the children in between. So there was like a desk, and she was sitting and asking them questions. But then, of course, that would not be a nice editing way to start. It had to be more abstract. So the way in the end, we decided to do it was with just, let me show you this. So this is the beginning now, and I'll explain why we chose this. We had a bit of a discussion with the Themis as well. He wanted to have his old edit, but this directly introduces, first of all, the characters. And I believe it introduces the
Can you stop a
main...
second? Because I'm not sure that all the audience knows what we are talking about. And I
Yes.
want just to say that Doctors, for the ones that have forgotten or not seen the film, is about a family closed inside a villa surrounded by a garden with a father who is the only one who is allowed to go out. The kids, and there are two daughters and one son and the wife. They are closed inside the house. They don't go out. The mother is allowed to make phone calls to the husband, but the kids don't have any contact, to the point that, as you will see here, they can be taught no matter what, because they don't have any possibility to check what is happening outside.
Everything that they learn is from their parents, and also the name Dogtooth is because the father has told that they can leave the house when one of their dogtooths goes out, which is impossible, of course. That was so. The starting is like this. It indicates exactly that what they learn is from their parents, in a funny way, of course, you will see.
Οι καινούριες λέξεις της ημέρας είναι οι εξής.
That's the mother speaking.
Θάλασσα. Αυτοκινητόδρομος.
So they learn new words.
Εκδρομή. Καραμπίνα. Θάλασσα είναι η δερμάτινη πολυθρόνα με τα ξύλινα μπράτσα, σαν αυτή που έχουμε στο σαλόνι.
So there is a distorted learning of words, like see something
Μην
different.
κάθεσαι όρθιος.
Also, the
Κάτσε
voice
στη θάλασσα να
continues,
τα
and
πούμε με την
we
ησυχία μας.
introduce the three characters. Very slow edit. The
Αυτοκινητόδρομος.
first character.
Είναι ο πολύ
This is
δυνατός
an
αέρας.
improvised scene. I was not in the script. Just go into the bathroom and play again. So we
Εκδρομή είναι
use
ένα
this.
πολύ
But then
ανθεκτικό
what does it do
υλικό
to the
με το
viewer,
οποίο
this scene? I
κατασκευάζουμε
think
δάπεδα.
it questions
Παράδειγμα,
our
ο πολυέλαιος
let's
έπεσε
face
με
it,
δύναμη στο
films.
πάτωμα, αλλά δεν προκλήθηκε καμία ζημιά,
As an
γιατί
audience,
είναι φτιαγμένο
in opposition
100%
to the
από
other
εκδρομή.
beginning here, you
Yeah.
immediately detect that something is very wrong. That
Also
there is-
very wrong, but also it transmits, the option, like our idea was, okay, can the audience now question their own view of things? Why do they name Like, for example, Italy names this like that because it's an education, right? So education or the way we learn the world as they learn is very similar because we are introduced into a society and we believe certain things to be true because we've thought they're true. And maybe, of course, this has repercussions because, you know, somebody has thought differently. Like, I have a different idea of history than Turk has. So there's
Yeah,
enmity
no,
and
but
stuff.
and it becomes very clear because the history and the culture is the official one.
Right.
So in this case, the father or the
So
political
the father
sense,
figure,
a
of course.
dictatorship, you know.
So it questions directly this thing. So it is not a description about a family living somewhere. No, it's about us and the way we learn the world. And, you know, it takes you directly, and not as in a didactic way. It's not like an essay. It's a thesis questioning things. How do we know the world, and what are our knowledge, and can we trust what we know? So that makes a difference. And now I can show you the same method we did also in the favorite, as you said, because the favorite also started with Abigail. I believe most of you have seen the film. It's a kind of all about Eve situation. A couple, in this case the Queen and Lady Marlborough, and a new person, Abigail, that comes and interferes with this relation to her own means. So the basic script and the plot-driven script was about that girl achieving her aims, which was not good for us. For example, I mean, because I was not involved directly with the assembly of the film, because I had stayed behind to finish the sacred deer, the killing of the sacred deer. There was a lot of post-production, and I had to stay behind and couldn't do the assembly. So somebody else did the assembly, and I was with Yorgos. And of course, we went again to our method to change things, and, you know, this comes with me suggesting things, discussing things, or Yorgos suggesting things. So the beginning then was like this, because the film we had to make sure that the film was about love. This is about love and the way we conceive love. So we found a different scene from from later in the situation, and you will notice also that the edit. Okay, this is after she has given a speech. It's a good introduction also for the Queen. A very nice close-up already that has this duality of, you know, she's a bit depressed, the Queen. She's a bit anxious as well. Nice way to introduce them. And, you know, can we raise the volume a bit, please?
You don't lisp.
Yeah, we need a little bit more of volume, please.
No. Sarah, you must say hello to the little ones.
Thank you.
No. It is macabre. Please. No. I love you, but that I will not do. If you love me, love has limits. It should not.
And we cut the scene. There was continuation. So the way to do it is, okay, I love you, but this love has limits. It should not. So then we question exactly this idea. Does love have limits? Directly cut with the sounds and everything. And then continue. So I guess it makes a point of how to start and what are we going to watch as viewers. So this would be a film about the limits of love or the ways of love. Again, like an essay and not a description of
You do not lisp, but you
a
are
situation.
mad. Giving me a palace.
But already you say
Well, I've been
the
wanting to
game
give you
of
something for quite
power
some time now.
between
Seemed like the
Sarah and the Queen, and then you have the entrance
And then
of Abigail. So in 2 minutes, just the way you edit the film, you have the relation between Queen Anna and Lady Sarah, and all of a sudden you are thrown out. You are on a carrosse with a squeezed Abigail inside the carrosse, and then she powerfully knocks on the door.
Knocks on the door.
She
yes.
makes herself inside,
Right.
visible, existing. And this is so eloquent because it already describes all that is going to happen inside the film.
Right. And of course, it informs the rest of the film, the rest of the way the scenes will be edited. Not as a matter of fact, or there is an edit that can be characterized as character-driven. You make an edit to present the character, the changes of the character. This is mainly the continuity editing. There is always a character that has some enemies and he has to overcome some obstacles, and in the end he succeeds or not. But this is not the case with the films we're trying to do with Lanthimos. It's more about a situation. Usually, I call them existential. It's about basic things, about how we are as human beings, how we behave under certain circumstances. For example, in The Lobster, again, it's about love, but there are certain rules, how to find your mate and everything. So it's all about the rules or about strange situation. And the way of course, the strange way he uses the lenses and the camera, of course, sometimes I feel like he puts people in an experiment. Let's see how they would behave under this circumstance or that. So all these have to be taken into account, of course, in the edit as well, because that's the aim and that's the way to orchestrate them towards that situation, towards this world, this strange world.
Yeah. One thing that I want to add, it is also in the entrance, the beginning of The Lobster is again the same powerful ability to anticipate the content of the film, because we start with the donkey and the lady kid. You have the clip?
Yes.
Yeah, because it will be...
I don't have the clip, no, sorry, I don't have this clip.
Too bad.
But the Lobster was also very difficult for us because there was a long exposition to reach to the basic point. We had to cut it a lot to reach to the point where he's being asked, okay, are you bisexual or are you straight? So it had to be a sequence of events that led us to this question. And so then it was the first time we used the music as well and the voiceover to indicate the beginning. And okay, we're going to talk about the specific roles people play in their relations and how can they. In The Lobster, we can see, if you want. But also we did that in Dogtooth, another way of our method, apart from the beginnings that indicate like a thesis or an essay, the film. It's what we call the montage sequences, in the sense that because Yorgos doesn't edit during the script or the shoot, in a sense, he respects the time and space continuity, so the actors can play the whole scene without even a different shot. The whole scene is played in 2 or 3 different shots, maybe a close-up, maybe a movement, but they feel free to express themselves during that time. And of course, when you put that in the assembly, many times we feel the need to break down this, theatrical presentation. Scene starts, scene finishes, a new character enters. So from the beginning, from the Dogtooth, we used what we call montage sequences, in the sense that we mix sorts of different scenes together, but on a basic idea or whole, or sometimes aesthetically. It doesn't have to be a meaning behind that. Of course, in the Lobster there was the meaning because there was these sequences of scenes that indicate that the lessons they're being taught, how to behave, how it is to be alone, or how to be with your couple. And also, in all our films, even in the last one, Killing of the Kinds of Kindness, there's a lot of montage sequences that are created in the edit.
And there is also something that there is more than one relation between the Lobster and Kinds of Kindness, because it's again about a matter of trust and manipulation.
Yes. And rules, of course.
Rules,
There's certain rules that you don't have to. So which one you want to show for this montage sequences?
For the Lobster, the montage is, again, for the ones that don't have the fresh memory of the Lobster.
Lobster, of course.
The Lobster is about a guy, David, that we are in a society in which you must be a couple. If you are not a couple, you can be transformed in an animal of your choice. And you will go into an hotel. The hotel will give you as many rules as possible to oblige you to find the significant one and getting married. Otherwise, you become an animal. And in this case, the protagonist goes to the hotel and go back to the beginning. There is the scene of the woman killing a donkey, and you ask to yourself, why? And the next scene is David checking in the hotel with a dog and presenting his brother who didn't make it. So there is already presented everything. And here, of course, in this place full of rules, they teach you everything, how to behave, and how your behavior would be much better if you are with somebody than if you are not with somebody. And the montage is about this, among other things.
Yeah, for this, it's very easy to find the main, gluing factor, which is the lessons. The order would be him waking up. Can we have some?
Man eats alone.
So they go to the lesson, and this is the lessons alone or with somebody. And we intersperse these scenes with later scenes. So we cut in the middle of the scene, we go to the scene next day.
How many dots did you use yesterday?
12.
Please take off your trousers and sit on the bed.
Can we not do this today? It's awful.
I know. But I'm afraid we have to do it. And you have no idea how much it helps you psychologically in your search for a partner.
Man eats with woman.
So you leave the question hanging, what happened there, take off your shoes, so you come back to the scene. All with the aim of proving to them that being together with somebody is much better than being alone. So this is the basic thing.
Lie down. Spread your legs. More.
Poor brother.
Is your room number 186?
Yes, it is.
I imagine you know that masturbation is not permitted in the rooms or any other area of the hotel.
Yes?
And yet it has been brought to my attention that you continue to do it.
This is genius, bravo. This is fantastic.
Today you became erect quicker than on other days. That's good.
Please, just a little longer.
Have a good day.
That's awful. Just awful.
Were you looking at a photograph while you were masturbating?
Yes.
What did the photograph show?
A naked woman on a horse in the country.
If I were in your shoes, I would not be ogling the naked woman, but the horse. I'm sure that horse was once a weak and cowardly man just like you. Woman walks alone.
Help! Help! Help!
This is not necessary, please. It was an accident. I just got
Please.
carried away. This is not necessary.
Please place your hand in the
This could be a
toaster.
warning. But I've been good otherwise.
Woman walks with man.
So that concludes the lesson. But it can also create a lot of tension if you separate the scenes from the environment and, use it like, okay, I'll show you from the...
But also,
yes.
it's incredible the way you can represent simultaneously causes and effect.
Yes, yes.
And this is incredible because then if you put it in a narrative way, you must be a couple. If you are not a couple, it's a disaster. We try to raise your libido in order to have you ready to be a couple, but if you masturbate, you go against the rule.
So it creates a lot of new thoughts. Yes.
Yeah, and in the way you edited the montage, everything comes together at the same time, and your brain registers and puts together the scene. It's fantastic.
That's the thing. That's the only way I can find my way through these scenes, because you can imagine there are different scenes, and they have to be edited together. So there must be a connection, not direct, of course, sometimes, but maybe as a thought, as you say, or as an indication. Creating anticipation and then fulfilling it or not fulfilling it. But also it can create, like for example, when there is a scene that we're not happy with the way it is played, there is not tension, it can be helped in a different way with the montage sequence. Like for example, in The Killing of the Sacred Deer, there was this scene when they were discussing the future of the child, the father and the mother with the doctors. And there was not enough tension in the way, it was just presentation and speech. So by doing this montage sequence, I think we did create a tension, we helped the tension like you would see now in the scene. It starts like this. This would be after the discussion, but then we intermix them again.
He stopped eating today. He refuses to eat.
Some of the tests need to be done again.
Take a deep breath. Hold it for a few seconds.
They haven't detected anything.
Okay, good. Breathe.
So you connect some of the tests that have to be done.
I don't think the results are going to show anything different.
The
To be honest,
antagonism
I think
here.
what we have here is a clear case of some psychosomatic disorder.
I'm inclined to agree with Anna.
Well, what do you mean? Shouldn't we rule out all possible causes before we resort to the easy option of a psychosomatic disorder?
We already have ruled out everything else.
I think with psychological support, psychiatric treatment, if necessary, he will be just fine. He'll walk again and he'll eat again.
Of course he will.
Anna, if Bob was nearsighted, or had a cataract, or glaucoma, then your opinion really would be valuable. But thankfully, Bob's eyesight is perfect. And I can honestly say that if he ever needed glasses, you'd be the first person I'd consult. But right now, the boy can't eat. He's paralyzed in both legs, so I'm sorry. I'm not remotely interested in your medical opinion.
So this small tension that will happen on the scene is being transmitted with the cuts going to a direction. So hopefully it rises tension, and it makes the meaning of the antagonism much more powerful than if it were separate scenes, right? For example.
So because also here, my take on the killing of the sacred deer is faith against hubris. The will and the belief of human beings that they can control their fate, and when something that is totally mysterious happens and they have to eventually bow in front of the mystery, they react as they can. He's a surgeon. He said, no, there is nothing strange on my son. He's just sick. The mother is a psychologist. She takes care of kids. No, I don't remember, Nicole Kidman?
Nicole Kidman,
yeah. She's a shrink, basically, and she thinks that everything is psychosomatic. But, and here you can tell already, in all the scene, all those elements. What is fantastic is the way in which the two Yorgos don't spoon feed the audience. In each way you build a sequence, there is a room for the audience to think, to follow you, and to put everything the puzzle together. And this is a great present done to an audience.
I think it would be great now, after your speech, to show the beginning of the film, because exactly in my mind, it says these things, just the beginning of the film, how frail human life is and how we believe that as doctors or science we can...
The beginning and the end is in the same diner, I noticed.
No, here's in the surgery. Can you turn the volume up a bit, please? A bit more?
A little bit of volume.
Then they start talking about
This
watch.
is like, I notice now, it's like the Queen Anna taking away the crown and the mantle. He's taking away all the instrument that makes him the god, the surgeon that decide of life and death and becomes human.
And this is what you described before, the Hebrews of the doctor, like a god, like a strange god with his goggles, being, the one who decides about somebody's life, although the beginning indicates to us the frailty of life. A small muscle that contracts and gives blood is responsible for our civilization, for this great song we heard, and how frail it is and how easily it can be taken away. But humans, in their arrogance or in their self-deceit, in their hubris, as you say, believe they are controlling it, and so it's an effort to put this into, to indicate that, at least in a cinematic language, very simply.
It's also interesting. We have maybe one of the second montage, the montage number 2. It is because we have the other protagonist of the story. Here we have the.
Oh, you mean for the killing?
It's montage 2.
Yeah, montage
Kim
2.
going. Yeah.
Yes.
No.
It's again this
Because
building
it
of
tells a
tension.
lot. Here we are toward the end of the story, and it shows the different degrees of acceptation of this. We see Martin, that is the other important element, because Martin is a destiny, Martin is a fate, Martin is the revenge that rebalances things, put hubris back to his place.
And it shows the breakdown of the family unit to it is basic constituents, which is of course the need for survival, the basic need for each person to survive the situation with their own means.
Sorry for what I did tonight. I don't know what I was thinking. I was only thinking about myself, no one else. It was wrong of me. I was frightened. I shouldn't have been. Let me be the one who atones for your sins, Dad. Kill me right here in front of your eyes so that you can be sure that I die in case of fate spares me at the last moment. Kill me right here in front of you and leave me with the ultimate joy of saving my own mother and beloved brother from certain death.
It contradicts what she says. What she says, of course, she pledges allegiance to the father while she's doing something different.
Dad, please. I would do anything for you.
Here the French
I would
would
even
say
die
we
for
have
you
an
as my chance to
enjambement
prove it.
temporel. There is a time that is
They're all asleep.
crossed.
We can go now and no one will notice.
And you answer only at the end
All
of
you
what
have
is
to do
going
is
on.
help me walk again. My legs hurt after all this time and I feel weak. But it's okay. It doesn't matter.
And it's, of course, it's
I
out
knew at
of
some point this would all be over
chronological
and you would
order.
come.
These things are mixed in a non-chronological order. They have happened, things that later happen appear before, and then they
I
follow
thought we
by
could take your
things.
friend's motorcycle and run away together. But you have to make me well first. I'll untie if you promise you can make me better and we'll run away together. Okay? It's not working. You have to try harder.
Kim's not in her bed.
I'm telling you, you have to try harder. Are you deaf? Martin, try harder.
Where is she?
She's gone.
Where is she? What did you do to her?
I love you so much. Don't forget that. You gave me life and only you have the right to take my life away. That makes perfect sense. You are my lords, my masters, and I am just someone who lives to obey your wishes. I love you so much. Remember that when I'm lying in my grave and able to tell you that I love you. I love you more than anything in the world, you and my brother.
And of course, is a monologue taken or imitated from Lanthimos, from the Iphigenia, the play. But in order for this to be comprehensible, as editors, we have to know or to take into consideration the narrative self. We have a small narrator in our heads that wants to make sense of everything, right? So we hope that this out-of-order situation, this strange situation, will finally, given the codes, people who will decode it and make their own meaning. And that's why it's necessary for the viewer in these kind of situations to put their own knowledge, to put their own beliefs, hopes, whatever they think about what life or what a person is or what situation is. So this is a two-way communication that somehow demands the viewer to make sense of the situation. It cannot work on its own, for example. It's dependent, and we have to respect also the viewer, and that's why sometimes you will you have people that like Lanthimos a lot or hate him a lot, because it creates all these feelings to the viewer.
I think it makes sense, because you have at the beginning David that is taking care of the bleeding legs, and then you understand that at the end you see, this is why it was.
This is why. So all
the time, and this is something that I would say that is one of your signature way of editing, in which
I trust a lot the viewer to be conscious on what he sees, and also it's a way to somehow, we have this idea of the epic theater, or like Brecht, who wanted to show the construction, and the one that immerses the viewer to loses himself. So we existentially, we would like the viewer to be himself and decide about what is happening there, not to get immersed in the situation. And usually the way the classical narration works is like it's by rewarding the same patterns of thought that exist in us. So it doesn't make any change to the way we are. But if you question that, you put the person in a different situation, maybe not so pleasant, but self-realization sometimes has to go through these experiences as well. And this is one of the biggest aims, I believe, in the cinema of Lanthimos, to make us face our reality in his own strange way. Of course, it's not like you have to accept it or not, but it doesn't usually want to reward our basic patterns of thought, creating a situation and rewarding us for this. And sometimes also there is no catharsis, and that's hard, of course, because catharsis means that we've gone through this experience and in the end we felt good about it. But sometimes it doesn't work this way in his cinema. It demands a different way of approach.
And this brings me back to something you said at the beginning, that you start editing the film every day. But the architecture is so complex in a Lanthimos film that I would like to know more, because you can have not even the backbone of the film editing in every day, because the architecture takes shape when you have everything. You cannot. So can you tell us more about the way you work together since the beginning? So since from the script to
so the
picture
first,
lock.
let's say the assembly that we do, I have to follow exactly the script. I don't have, of course, that period helps me also to understand the different possibilities that exist in a scene, which way they could go. But for the beginning, I follow directly the script, and our main aim is to have the best scene as we can in terms of the actors and the performances, and the rhythm, of course, inside the scene. But we're not so particular about this, the first assembly, because we know this is going to be very long, right? So when we have that, and then we have the, let's say, the best performances, but also we know what other possibilities there are, then we have constructed it, and we start this, we call it deconstruction. Let's break it down now. Let's see how it would be if we started with this scene instead of the one that's starting now. And discussing about, some situation arises, and I wake up and I say, okay, that would be a great beginning. I try it, of course, and I present it to him, and there starts this creative dialogue about how we go. Other situations, as you notice in the montage sequence, we know there is a kind of, the rhythm is very low there, or the scene doesn't work as much as he would like to work, And we say, okay, let's try to do this a montage sequence. Let's take these 5 scenes and blend them into one. Sometimes it's for reasons of, most of the time, it's for reasons of pace. Give it a bit more pace. We don't need all this exposition of the scene to say this small thing. I mean, there are examples. There's an example, if you want me to show, from Poor Things, which was a very long sequence.
I would like actually to bring you somewhere else, and it is in Kinds of Kindness,
Kinds of Kindness, of course.
in the homage of the flower in the first episode.
Yes.
That is a perfect, wonderful example of fast editing using the synchrony, the lack of synchrony, synchronic editing.
Yes. And to complete our method, when we try these things, and then we bring in the music, which is very peculiar to how we work with music. For example, in our first films, in Dogtooth, we didn't use any external music. It was only music coming from the word of the situation. Then in the Lobster, we had music that, you know, classical music, that I had a bin of musics to try at a later stage. And then we did the same with Killing of the Sacred Deer. We had a lot of Ligeti and Schubert, and in The Favorite, of course, a lot of Vivaldi, and again, Schubert. But then when Lanthimos heard an album by Jeskin, he asked him to write music for Poor Things. So the way that was done was that the music was written before even shooting started. Of course, not the final music, but certain themes. So there comes a moment in our edit, then we bring the music in. We have it, of course, from the beginning, but I never start working with the music because it would give us wrong ideas about the film. It would make things easy somehow. But we use it differently when the time comes, especially to inform these montage sequences. And the same way we worked on Kinds of Kindness. The music was there, and that gives you a lot of freedom also to edit the music. Like, for example, you have certain meters of the music. You can add more depending on the situation of the scene, or you can extract some meters and make it faster. This collaboration helps a lot with the edit, I believe, and I'm not sure how else it could be done. You know, usually in the Anglo-Saxon system, they finish the edit, and then the musician gets it and writes the music on the edit, which is strange because
I know
they have to
a number of editors that actually work in close collaboration with the composer, and they get the pace and the rhythm together.
It has to be the same, yeah. So this is an example, as you mentioned, of change in the order of the scenes. It helps you to take out a lot of space. Like, for example, this sequence could be, like, say, 30 minutes. It can become 15 minutes, keeping the basic things, and also creating some nice juxtapositions, sometimes funny, you know, making the audience, surprising the audience somehow, jumping ahead and going back. So this is another interesting scene for this way of editing.
Yes, sir?
2 double Johnny Walker Reds on the rocks, please.
And also you can separate the meters of the music. You can stop it, you can place it later.
And what he sees first, the hands and the lips.
happens, music stops, and then it starts again.
What I'm gonna do.
Yes. When he takes a decision, and it will cut with the hitting of the foot. So the rhythm is controlling the picture as well, and the picture is controlling the music.
Right.
And the pick of the music coincides with this,
Perfect,
right?
perfect.
And the cut directly to him band-aids, it was fun to us, so it goes ahead and goes back again. So this anachronism of the timeline is interesting for us as well.
The same way at the end,
Hi,
everything
Rita.
takes its place.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
Thank you so much.
No, I wanted to thank you for everything.
How's the foot?
And the picture answers how is the foot. So you connect
you all right?
this. He hit his foot.
Are you
and
hurt?
it's-
It's just a little.
A little.
I missed that step. I didn't see it.
What step?
There's a step in the men's bathroom.
Should I get you some ice?
No, don't worry. It's nothing. I wouldn't want to trouble you. Thank you so much, though. You're very kind.
That doesn't look like nothing. Are you here with anyone?
No, it's just me.
And you don't need to say
have
anything
this
else. Because
exact
he said, can I take you to the hospital? No. Says
Really?
me, they look, and they go.
What are the chances? It hurts more now.
Hang in there. We're only 5 minutes away.
Have I seen you somewhere before? Are you at that bar restaurant often?
No, that was my first time there.
Are you an architect by any chance?
No, I work at an optician's downtown. I'm Rita Fanning.
Robert Fletcher. I know I've got a lot of nerve.
We know
but
how
with
they
you
introduce each other.
taking me to the hospital yesterday and all, but I have one more favor to ask.
Sure, what is it?
I want to take you out for dinner one night. It's the least I can do, and it would make me very happy. If it's not a chore.
I'd like that. It would be my pleasure.
Really?
Of course.
Tomorrow evening?
Tomorrow evening.
And you remember we started with him looking and, who is this woman, right? And so where does this sequence end? So they meet, but it ends when he meets her again in the hospital. So it is a whole sequence for us. It's not like
the whole story, basically.
It's a whole story. Yes.
All in dialogue with the different pieces.
Rita, it's Robert.
It's the way you decide to
I
do the
hope you're
narration,
okay.
which
I'm outside
makes
your
it
house
more
right
interesting
now.
that it would be, a scene after a scene after a scene,
I
which,
guess you
the
forgot
order
about
of the
tonight.
scenes.
Call
but,
me when you can. Have a nice
it
night.
also closes like, a paragraph, like, who is this woman? And, okay, so in the end, here in the end
And
of the
here,
scene,
here we are already the day after.
the day after, and being alone waiting for her. And, the answer comes when he goes to the hospital and he sees Raymond and his wife being there, so he connects them somehow. Which, of course, the connection is that guy. Who is going to kill him?
He knows
Him or her?
that's the guy that he had to invest, and he didn't.
Come in.
Hi, Rita.
Hi.
What happened?
So he
How are you?
connects these points
I'm a little
together,
worse than you were
like,
that day at the
she
restaurant.
tried also to kill RMF, as
sorry
he did,
about the
and
other
that's why
night.
he will take her key, go to her house, and decide to do it himself to gain the favors of Raymond again. So that is in a sequence that, it cannot be, of course, we analyze it now, but I guess the experience in the viewer is more interesting because, in a sense, you force him to make these connections and find the connecting points which create for him the meaning of what is happening.
Yeah, but
It's
this is
not
really your
presented.
signature editing for me. You are
Yeah.
a master in, among other things, but this one is the way to play with time and places,
Yes.
and little by little to make the puzzle, all the tiles of the puzzle get in the right place, fall in the right place. This is
It's always a
something
challenge,
amazing
of
that,
course.
that you
It's
do
always
now.
a challenge because it's not there in the script. You cannot follow a script to do that because the scenes are in the script order.
But
Okay, so
yeah,
you have
for instance, just to be practical, who is the father of this long sequence?
Oh, we started, as I said, we started on Doctor together. It was a way we found together. Like, okay, what can we do here? There was this scene in Doctor. I can go back to it. You know, the first sequence. If you want to see the beginning of the situation, we wanted to make the scene shorter, but also aesthetically, Lanthimos is never satisfied to present this in a usual way. It has to be different. The telling of the tale is sometimes more important than what you say, but also it creates new connotations. It creates new ideas in the audience that did not exist maybe in the script somehow, because the direct connection between two ideas makes you think that, or the elimination of an idea makes you put your own explanation to that. So the new explanation is always interesting for us as well, because I've read a lot of things about his films, and I'm sometimes even myself, I'm surprised how these things come up. But yes, it's natural because they come from a point of view that we cannot think of everything. We just give the codes and make sure that they're, connected, but not in a direct, linear manner. So that would explain a lot of different explanations and a lot of things people put in what is happening in the films. So, which is, I believe, it's interesting. So, let me show you this, if you want, this first montage sequence we did in Doctor.
What is interesting is that you and the other Yorgos, you killed the idea of flashback, because there is no flashback. You play with time, and you are never back, and you're never nowhere. Till the end, only till at the end of the sequence, you are somewhere. But
yes, because it's interesting also because cinema has to talk about the way we see the world, and also it's an indirect way to discuss about time. About the linearity of time, or if time is present in our consciousness in three, because it is present in three different manners. I mean, I'm an admirer of René's ideas about film editing, and also his ideas about how the brain perceives time based on the past and also projecting into the future. So it is not like we are in the present all the time. No, we are in the past and also in the future, and in between, sometimes in the present as well, but mostly a circle of time surrounds us in a sense. Of course, for practical reasons, we know that we make appointments, we have to go there, but inside of us,
our perception of time.
our perception, like he showed us in Hiroshima Mon Amour, for example. This woman is immersed in a different time capsule than us because of her experiences and everything.
Yeah.
So
that would be another. We have so many wonderful references. Well, and also not by accident.
That's what
The Mirror is one of your favorites. Talking about the time.
But also, this is something that as we were young and we did commercials, we discussed about films. We discussed about what does a film mean, why this and why that. So it connects you with a kind of family of ideas, right? And so you try to implement them somehow in your film, but not imitating, but being inspired by them somehow. Be inspired. So if you allow me, I will show you this. It's the time when they meet. For the people who don't know, the greatest animal of the family is a cat. A cat is a vicious animal, according to the father.
Here we are back to Dogtooth.
Back to Dogtooth, yes. That's why he's afraid of it. And also, you might have noticed that Lanthimos is an admirer of biomechanics. It's not the facial expression, it's the movement. that he's interested in the movement of the character inside the frame. Like in ancient Greece, they had masks on their faces, and movement was important, of course.
Πώς έγινε? Τι τους είπες? Καλά έκανες. Θα τους το πω κι εγώ. Ναι, είναι μια πολύ καλή ευκαιρία. Ναι. Θα ανέβει η θερμοκρασία και θα πέσουν πολύ οι άνεμοι. 5 με 6 βαθμούς. Εντάξει. Όχι, πρέπει να τελειώνει αυτή η ιστορία. Έχει καταντήσει κουραστικό για όλους μας. Συμφωνώ. Έχεις απόλυτο δίκιο. Ναι.
Ο αδερφός σας πέθανε. Ένα πλάσμα σαν αυτό που εισέβολε σήμερα στον κήπο τον διαμέλυσε. Από τη μια, το λάθος του να φύγει ενώ δεν ήταν έτοιμος ήταν τεράστιο. Από την άλλη όμως ήταν γιος μου. Και λυπάμαι. Το ζώο που μας απειλεί λέγεται γάτα. Είναι το πιο επικίνδυνο ζώο που υπάρχει. Τρέφεται με κρέας. Και συγκεκριμένα με κρέας παιδικό. Με τα νύχια του ξεσχίζει το θύμα του και στη συνέχεια με τα κοφτερά της δόντια τρώει το πρόσωπο και μετά όλο το σώμα. Όσο βρίσκεστε μέσα δεν κινδυνεύετε. Είστε προστατευμένοι. Παρ' όλα αυτά πρέπει να είμαστε προετοιμασμένοι σε περίπτωση που ξαναεισβάλλει κάτι στο σπίτι ή στον κήπο. Μιαου.
So, a way of controlling, but also blending the sorts together and creating this tension that rises towards.
And the curiosity, because when you watch the film, you don't understand why. Well, you see there are these bursts of violence that are designed that somehow they feel the pressure that the father puts on them, but the cat, you don't know. And then you see the father cutting his dresses, and again, you don't understand, and those two are making your interest and your tension growing till the explanation, which is grotesque, comes up, and there is, as our audience showed, there is the laugh.
Yes, also it's a trademark of Lanthimos and a famous way of presenting things, which is somehow, you could say, funny, but in a sense, it's not so, you laugh about it, but also you feel your stomach being, okay, different kind of laughter.
I think that Doctus could not be more contemporary than now, in which we cannot detect, we are surrounded by wars, and we cannot detect from our garden what is the truth and what is just a mise-en-scène. So it comes back super important and super contemporary. But before, I'd like also to let the audience ask a few questions, but I want also to bring you a little bit into Poor Things, because it's different from everything else. And also I think your way of editing must have been different from all the others, because you had to edit raw material without special effects, without nothing. And the film is heavy on the special effects side.
Well, not really, because most of the effects were done like analogically. For example, the animals, we had to edit them because they were shot, as a matter of fact. Of course, they had to be enhanced from the VFX people, but they were not CGI. So I had the animals, I had the combinations. We had to try all the combinations. And when we're happy with one, we then send it to the post-production to enhance it and do the stitches more obvious than, the basic connection we could make on the edit. So as a matter of fact, we could see most of it. And also we had, apart from my assistant, we had a VFX editor as well, doing a lot of work, because there was a lot of lights on the skies and everything. We had to replace them. We like to, even in the edit, we like to see the best we can for us to understand how the mood is created. So we don't wait for it in the end. And that's why it's a very long procedure sometimes.
How long was the editing of a Poor Things?
At least 6 months. It was 6 months, yes, which is not very much. I have heard of people editing for a year or so, but we try to
but with you are fast. The two Yorgos are relatively fast in making films. 6 months?
I think it's, yes, but sometimes they complain it's too much, because usually they don't allow you to work more than 20 weeks in the Anglo-Saxon things. It depends on the director, it depends on the film and everything, but I've heard of films being edited for a year or so, but we usually would take 6 to 7 months to complete from the assembly till, because also we use, if I had time I could show you from the favorites some clip of how we use the sound as well, because sound design has to be incorporated in our edit before we go to the sound design somehow. So the ideas are there, of course, but then the fine-tuning of them happens in the sound, definitely, of course. But what you want me to show you a sound clip or the Poor Things clip?
First, I wanted to ask a question about again Poor Things in general, and it is what was the most difficult situation in which you found yourself in terms of editing with the Poor Things?
Well, I think it was in a sense our easiest film, because we knew we had to follow or create this character, Bella Baxter. That was the basic aim from the beginning. Who is this woman? How does she develop? Because, this strange situation of a grown-up woman having a brain of a baby and then developing fast, we try to follow her development. Like, for example, we always discussed about it, okay, how old is she when she's in Lisbon? For example, is she 16 years old or 17 years old, or how old? Of course, as a baby, we understand her things, how fast she learns the languages. So yes, that was the most difficult, let's say, part, and the one that made us work a lot, to be able to, because you understand also in the beginning, especially in the beginning, the black and white scene, there was a lot of improvisation. So I remember the kitchen scene, for example. The first edit, it was 7 minutes long, of course, with a lot of different nuances as it did. But of course, they had to be eliminated, and the advance of her situation should be more clear in a more fast way. So again, we created a sequence there for her, when Max McCandles observes her and takes notes, and how she eats, and how she behaves, and how she sleeps, and how she gets up. So to create a sequence of her improvement somehow, and to the end. And then, of course, because you start with a baby and you finish with a grown-up woman, very responsible. She knows what she wants to do in her life. She has a positive attitude towards people and science, and she believes in humanity, which, of course, I might say it's quite different than his next film, which is Kinds of Kindness. But again, I've said that before, but it's not like that it's a different Lanthimos, because a lot of critics say that it's a different Lanthimos going back to
No, on the
different
opposite,
things.
I was surprised at being before the screenwriters, McNamara and then Filippo.
Yes.
Actually, there was such a consistency between the two films, because one is there are two what if. One is the what if we would not have the social constraint, what if we were free, what if the game of power could be changed. And in the kinds of kindness, you will see tonight, the ones that are going to watch the film, is okay, you think that you're making choices on the name of friendship, or you think that you are, if something bad happens to you, is because the bad guys are the others, or maybe there is society puts us in a complex game of manipulation, in which sometimes we are the manipulator, sometimes we are the manipulated. And like in the scene Beautiful of the encounter.
It's a different
so
society.
That really, there is an ongoing reflection on the state of humanity. No?
Humanity, and also on poor things, of course, the point of view was the man of 19th century. The science was just starting. There was a lot of hope for humanity. There was a lot of hope that things will be better. So that's why you can allow Bella Baxter to be optimistic about our future, because the man or the people of 19th century were very optimistic about what is coming. But then, after 2 world wars, after all this destruction and devastation, and the way we are now, how can one be optimistic about the situation of people? So that's why Kinds of Kindness presents a very bleak and dark situation, humanity situation, but it is consistent, I believe.
No, I think that yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that unless you want to show us something.
Well, just one clip that I like a lot that we had from the ferry, so we see some. There was this scene in 2 scenes together where that. One was so heavy with Vivaldi that was followed by a dance between the Queen and Abigail, and that was a very difficult scene to edit because the obvious way to edit would be to play a piano and then dance to a song, but then it didn't work because one song after the other aesthetically didn't match so well. So we had to find a way to do it differently, and the way we found, I remember Lanthimos was in the States for some presentation, and I stayed along with my assistants, and we decided to do a different kind of edit using sound design from the film, which was very relative because of the antagonism, and created this difference between music and sound in 2 scenes. So maybe this thing, and then we can follow with the... So I just showed you the end of Vivaldi. That was a long song before. So imagine after all this song played, she says, let's dance.
You mock me. No, I just believe you can. That it would be cheery. I would dearly like to dance with you.
This is the sound design.
Click.
Rock.
Front. Back.
Because the other one is outside, but is present in the mind of both of them.
Right.
So she enters through the sound of pigeons and the sound of shooting. Yeah.
Another way of showing the antagonism, because it is there, the antagonism between them for the favors of the Queen, and then of course it's expressed between them with shooting the pigeon, and then using that sound in the dance creates this idea of, okay, this this has to do with Lady Marlborough as well. Because she's trying to
again, you play with the time and situation, because while they are trying to dance, we don't know why we have to listen to the pigeons and the shots, because it's not obvious. And then you see, and immediately the presence of Lady Sarah it becomes a triangle, and we know that Lady Sarah will not be happy to find the 2 of them together. No?
So yes, if you want.
Yeah, now the floor is yours. Questions? There is one on the way.
Hello, it's A. Thank you very much for the masterclass. It was really entertaining. And I have one silly question and one proper question. The first one is, what's your preferred software for editing? You know, like, and if the technology changed or improving in any way your style of editing. And the other one, more like a proper question, it's when I'm watching a film that like you edit with Yorgos and everything, I feel that your style benefits a lot of with the camera movement and the sound, you know, in the editing. Is this something that is discussed with the DOP, the director previously, or you do only on the editing part, like?
Okay. So to answer your first question, as I mentioned before, I'm a guy that started with the moviolas, which was a mechanical thing, and you know, the technology, of course, advanced our work, but then I still keep them sometimes, not all the time, but when I want to feel the film or when I want to be in the time space of the scene 20, for example, I start seeing the whole film up to scene 20, and then I start editing. And that I got from the moviola, because then, you know, in the moviola we had a 20-minute reel, we had to put it there, so when we wanted to go to minute 15, we had to watch the whole film up to the time, even in double speed. But then you do get connection of the timeline when you see it, so I still keep that in mind. I don't like random access buttons so much. Of course, when I edit the scene, I go directly there. But when I want to, not to do a technical part, but more a feeling touch, as I call it, I have to watch the whole situation up to that time to see how it gets me there. As for this, you know, all our discussions when we did commercials were about films. We were discussing about films. We were discussing about Godard. We were discussing about René. We were discussing about Kubrick. And all these codes of the camera, you know, editing for me doesn't start with the editor. It starts, again, from the scriptwriter, and the scriptwriter decides, you know, he takes a subject and makes a plot. Plot means eliminating stuff or giving attention to other stuff. So already there is an edit. Then the camera, of course, the camera from the whole that surrounds us, not only the visible but the invisible as well, takes away a frame or a movement to indicate that. So usually these are codes of understanding, and you know, codes that influence, of course, the edit. I cannot edit against these codes, right? The movements that Lanthimos and his DP decide, they're very obvious, the lenses that he uses, and they have to be used editorially to make the same point, go to the same direction. They cannot contradict. And of course, they had to be used, and that's why sometimes you can say that Lanthimos edits are very slow because we want to leave a short tracking in to make sense for the audience to understand the relation inside the frame, because there is an edit inside the frame as well, right? And okay, sometimes this brings us to difficult situation with the studio, because they, like for example, in The Favorite, there was a nice reaction of Lady Marlborough, but she was behind, like, you know, William Wyler shot, you know, the ones that you can see the whole frame, and in the far end of the frame, an actor reacts. But then this is more powerful sometimes than cut into a close-up. So he uses a lot of these cinematic codes, and of course I have to follow them, yes. Thank you.
Here. I'm sorry, after him.
Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ. Πολύ ενδιαφέρον. I would like to ask, you've talked a lot about the aesthetic choices you make in putting a movie together, but what about the practical problems that you face in terms of probably not so much now with the quality of the productions that you're doing, but maybe in the earlier days, what are the big practical problems you faced in terms of actors, what they're doing, maybe even cinematography, etc., and how did you overcome those? Thank you.
Well, one of the methods, the montage sequence, as I mentioned, sometimes tries also to hide some of the, let's say, problems in acting or lighting or aesthetically not being to the level that Lanthimos wants it to be. So, because we cannot necessarily take the scene out that we don't like, how to use it to make a point. So one way to do that was for us, that forced us to experiment on this situation of creating a sequence out of that. But usually in his films, it's not like they're not done properly. No, it's like the level of aesthetic somehow doesn't satisfy him for a reason that it's his own. He's a very instinctive person. We don't usually discuss, but it's very easy for me to see that he has a kind of geniusness, or how you say, audiovisual geniusness, how to say things, but not discussing them, just putting them as ideas. And I don't think it's necessary to discuss, but I trust him when he says, I don't like this scene, we have to do something about it. So the way we do it, of course, it can be by cutting it sometimes, we eliminate it so it doesn't create any problem for the whole, or usually if it's necessary, we create this montage sequence to make it less prominent, the mistakes, and use it the way we could. But really, we haven't changed our method of work since our earlier days. We still, we're very conscious of what we did in Dogtooth, for example, a lot of hard work and never satisfied to almost finish it. We usually, what we do is we take our time to try a lot of things before we say, yes, this is done. We try all the things that could be possible, even if we discard them at the end. There's a lot of editing that doesn't exist in the final product because, it was a way for us to understand the material. Editing, and then, yes, okay, we found another way. It's never the same, and you have to discover it all the time in each film anew, because each film presents a different challenge. Although it belongs to the same Lanthimian world, still it has to be rediscovered somehow, this world. But it's as an editor, for me, I would say it's a process that starts from downwards going up. It's not like, I start with an idea. No, I start by putting the building blocks together and saying, okay, this works, that doesn't work, oh, that's interesting, let's keep this, and what does it mean to the rest? So it's a kind of a puzzle that is being formed all the time, slowly, slowly.
A discovery, right? Because as I edit myself, but sometimes you find these pleasant surprises that you never expected. So I was wondering how often in the films, if that's ever happened.
Oh, okay. Very often,
Yeah.
And this is one characteristic of, for me, the genius of Lanthimos, because he knows exactly what he wants to do. It's all there in the material, but then he does likes to experiment, and his way of working is like, I can tell you only that phrase, that usually when I present with a scene or, an idea, his usual reaction is that all we can do? So
I was going to say, because he gives you a lot of freedom, but I'm sure he trusts you a lot. And based on the edit, how many times would you edit the film before it gets locked?
Well, as I said, it takes 6 or 7 months, and also the connection we have is that usually, we start watching the material, he discusses about certain things he doesn't like. For example, this shot is not nice, we must change it to that shot, but also gives me an indication of how to follow a character. Also, I make some notes of my own and try things. I have the freedom to try anything that I want. Of course, most of the time it gets thrown out. It's not, it's accepted, but something stays and informs the rest of the procedure. it's an open procedure. It's not like, we're aiming at something. No, we like to try things. And also, it's, we are surprised and happy when something comes up. And we try to keep it, of course, because this is the, this gives it the freshness of being there all the time. So it's not like this is the aim of the scene. No, the aim is aesthetically to be more innovative, let's say, to try different ways of experimenting with the edit, not the usual way, and of course be faithful, all of this, be faithful to the basic existential theme of the film, and not the description of the script, but what is this film about? This is about love. Okay, so let's make this the basis of all the scenes somehow.
Oops. Why? Lady first, and then then you. Yeah, and her. No, him. Yes, of course. Sorry. Yeah, you. I right. You.
Thank you.
You and you, and then I guess we will have to wrap up.
Since you like playing with film structures and film narrative, it's obvious. And we're living in a very kind of, maybe the simple question is, are we living in a similar period of time like when sound came into film? In terms of, with the new media and especially with the new distribution channels, it's kind of changing the film aesthetic, the film narrative, the film structure. Is it just looking at it too closely because we're living through it? Or is it something that will change film? Or how do you see it?
Well, I still try to stay in the same method of work, and although we went from very small budget films to bigger budget films, we like to keep the creative control of the film and not abandon it because the technology or because the needs of the studio were different. Of course, this is hard. I understand that. But I think I'm lucky because Lanthimos keeps the final cut, and we somehow, during my work at least, we're a bit isolated. We don't get interference by things that are happening, and also technologically, as I discovered in Poor Things, he wants to keep things, as we call it, in an analogical method. The sound as well, not to be extremely technical about things. He doesn't trust so much, and he trusts more the human input of his collaborators. Of course, they can use technology. For example, in the sound, he detests doing ADR. He never does ADR. So even if a scene it's very difficult to clean the sound, we will do it, of course, but with the aim of keeping it, true to its performance and not change it somehow. And also that was true with the visual effects on Poor Things. He used the LED technology because we could see the background. It was not like a green key, so it was important. And I guess it is. Technology is always how you use it. It's always useful, but if it takes over from you and your mentality and your intentions, maybe you don't use it in a nice way. But it's useful if you can control it and put it to, help your own understanding or your aims. I'm not sure if that's the correct answer, but that's how I felt about it.
I also, specifically with the way of distribution, with streaming services, with smaller screens that films are made for, the idea of clicking on through films on a computer and just kind of playing it, and it's like changes the way people approach film and the way they kind of make it for a different sort of medium. So that's kind of.
Well, in my experience, Kinds of Kindness was ordered, as a matter of fact, for the platform. That's why it was 3 different stories that could be very different. But when, after we watched the cut, he and his other producer, Emily Stone, they decided this had to be shown in the screens as well. So he has, he's fighting for this situation to remain there. And You know, you have to fight for it, and I guess that was the reason why also the new film is being done with a different distributor. So again, it's who controls the distribution for what's aim. I don't think he likes to do films for the content of the platform. No, he wants to be himself and do the films that he wants to do, but that's it become more and more difficult, I guess. But this is what it is.
Her? No, yes, her. And then there, and then I think it will be time to wrap up. You tell me. You are the boss. Eh? Okay, you are the boss, you tell us.
First of all, thank you for such an interesting talk. It was, I learned some new things. This might be a silly question, but as an editor, what makes your job worthwhile? And when the viewer sees your films, what you want them to see through your eyes, like what you want them to experience, like emotions. And my second question is, as a student myself who's studying media, how do you encourage us, like future editors, sorry, sorry, I'm a bit shy. As future editors, what kind of encouragement you give us and some tips that makes our editing more successful and more good through the film?
Well, for the first question, I would say that I would like to be surprised as well watching a film. Like also I edit, I would like to surprise me, not to see, you know, of course I know all the cuts and everything, but I'm surprised sometimes with the ideas that come through the juxtaposition, because it means, and that takes me to the answer to the second question, what is that important? Because lately I'm very much interested in neuroscience and how the brain conceives the world and how the brain is constructed and why do we see things we see, because, you know, the idea that we come in this world as a tabula rasa is not correct anymore in neuroscience. So when we see something, we already interpret it. And it's very interesting to see how, so all the theories of editing, starting with, you know, the Soviets, Eisenstein, and all of them, they all have a perception theory. Eisenstein believed that this is how people see the world, and this is how I'm going to change it. So it always connects with the film being shown in the mind of the viewer. The film is not there, it's not on the screen. It's, you know, as Deleuze also said, the mind is a screen. So I'm very much interested in this mind that, you know, it somehow projects the film. The film is not projected to the mind, but also it is already interpreted, and how this influences the way editing works. And you know, this is very interesting. And also I would say that as an editor, I try to be more, let's say, cosmopolitan. I'm not only an editor, I like music, I used to play violin, I read a lot, so a lot of interests, you know, make you humanistically a better person to deal with the situation of giving, or, you know, because it's a communication. You put some codes in the film that have to be decoded, so you have to take both into your account, what is being shown and how the person will interpret it. And cinema is a common language somehow. It can be interpreted by many people in different parts of the world. You don't have to know films to understand them. But of course, it's good to be literate, definitely, because it's a different experience. That's what I can say.
Okay, now there is a gentleman over there.
Thank you. I just wanted to know, normally, how do you go about editing? You edit chronologically or non-chronologically, or both? In that case, how do you determine which approach you take?
Well, unfortunately, because of the assembly and the way that things are coming in the screen, in the edit, it's not chronological, although for example, in Poor Things, the whole first part was chronological. So yes, I do believe that, you know, constructing the scenes is good, but it takes being out of the timeline. I know this is not the same. It will have to be interpreted differently because we interpret differently. You know, it's you know, like Eisenstein said, the frames are not succeeding each other; they're overlapping. So you base your new knowledge of what you've seen before. It's an overlap of experience, of feeling, of thoughts. So it determines a lot. Timeline, the time determines a lot the position of the scene and the edit of the scene, definitely.
Last question, I would say yes. Over there. Yeah, you're losing. I don't know what happened.
Hello, thank you. Your work is so inspirational to so many audiences around the globe. And because we're here as an international festival and celebrating work from around the world, do you feel that certain editing techniques or certain styles are more pervasive or speak to different audiences in different parts of the world more strongly than others?
Well, I'm in favor of the personal cinema, so I do admire Lanthimos because he has found his personal expression, and I would wish for more personal experiences of filmmakers and not the, you know, the content that is created according to the genre of comedy or and these things, which are a bit typical, and mainly they have to do with this idea of, you know, the brain being rewarded for what it is. So it means you feed our brain with the usual patterns that makes us satisfied and, you know, be satisfied with what there is, or some uneasiness that can create a revolution or something new to this world which needs it, I believe. Thank you.
Well, it's a pity because there would be so many things to discuss, but I think that now this is a wrap. Thank you. Thank you so much, Yorgos.